Hey, it's Jessica DeMassa with WTF Health. What's the future of health? I'm talking to the who's who of health tech and healthcare innovation. And today we are diving into some news coming out of the point of care ultrasound space with the category defining company itself at the helm. So, here to tell us all about what's new is the president, CEO, and chairman of Butterfly Network, Joe DeVivo. Joe, it's great to have you here.
It's so happy to be with you. Nice to see you again, Jessica.
Yeah, friend of the show, Joe. We know
End
you
of the
from
show.
InTouch, and then when InTouch got acquired by Teladoc for $600 million back at the beginning of 2020. And so we've got a lot of memory lane to walk down. But before we do that, let's dive into the news that's happening today. And so Butterfly Network just launched its next generation of its handheld ultrasound. So this is the Butterfly IQ3. And the big deal about this is that there's a lot of like sexy tech that I'm sure we're going to talk through. But I'd like to kind of kick off the story and put this in context with something that you said back at JP Morgan this year in 2024 about Butterfly Network needing to get its mojo back and returning to revenue growth. So I'm sure all of those shareholders who watched the company SPAC IPO back in 2021 are on the edge of seat to find out how this brand new version of the handheld ultrasound is going to help you guys capture the momentum you need to chase down that mojo. So, Joe, tell us all about it.
Well, thank you for that, Jessica. We're going to have a great year. We're going to have a great year. Butterfly has a massive market opportunity in point of care ultrasound. And, the company just went for it. Last year, we had to go through some restructurings and some changes, and it's done. I've got a great team. I have great technology. And now we have a new product that's going to change the way that point of care ultrasound is done. So when I say we're going to get our mojo back, we ended off the end of 23 really strong. And I was very pleased with the team. I was pleased with the momentum. And now with the new products, it's just going to be a great, great year.
I'm excited to hear a little bit about this. So let's dive into the sexy tech because part of this is this semiconductor technology that's at the core of this. So explain this to me because what I understand is that this really helps the image quality, which has been part of the issue with handheld ultrasound. So unpack the tech for us and tell us how good are these images getting? I mean, are we at the level where we're looking at cardiology and OB or where are we at here?
Well, so yes, I think we are. And what's exciting is about the rapid evolution of the technology. Semiconductors have been able to double processing power every 18 months for the last 60 years. And we're in a space where we're the only commercially available semiconductor-based ultrasound company. And the technology is moving very fast. We've gone from our first generation in 2018, second in 2020, and now here in 2024, our third. And the leaps and bounds are significant. And what's great about semiconductor technology that we're not analog, we compete in an analog marketplace that has battery, transducer, lens, fixed lens, and crystal. And that's the standard piezo environment. And there's physics involved with how much energy can be delivered through the crystal before there's so much of a heat artifact. For human beings, we can only hold something so hot. And so while the legacy analog competition has reached its limit, we have this exponential compute power. And so our second generation device had a processing power of 4.8 gigahertz per second. This next probe is 9.6 gigahertz per second. It's like running 20,000 4K movies simultaneously. That's how much processing power is going through our probe. And what that does is allows us to have a lot of frequency, a lot of energy, and a lot of interpretation of the image to deliver on quality. And so historically, we have sold more devices than any of the other companies combined. We have placed over 100,000 units in 4 years, and we are all over the world. If there was a rub, if someone said, hey, this one semiconductor probe that does everything if I can ask anything else of it, it would be to improve that image quality, to get ourselves to be more comfortable with cardiac imaging. There's so many things that we do well, but the processor right now is at a level of capability that we've met that mark. So it's an incredible time, not only for today, but it demonstrates that we can rapidly innovate. So we're on our third generation today. If we can be equivalent to everybody today, what's our fourth generation going to look like in a couple of years? What's our fifth generation going to look like a few years after? So the future is just amazing.
I love this. You're like leaning hard into Moore's law here too. I mean, as far as the pricing on it goes and the fact that this technology is just growing exponentially. Explain to us the market for this, Joe, because I think that's one of the questions like all along. I mean, like you guys are Butterfly Network is like category creating. Like this handheld point of care ultrasound did not exist until Butterfly Network brought its ultrasound to market. So tell us where we're at today. Like, what does this look like in terms of like who's using it? I mean, is this being adopted? Like, the vision was to democratize medical imaging and bring it into doctors' offices and urgent care and even different places of the hospital rather than waiting to go and see an ultrasound technician. Like, let's bring it down into the ER. So, I mean, where is it really happening?
Well, and I think that's the key, because there's a difference between market and opportunity. Market is the collective revenue of all the companies that are selling a similar product in a similar space. The opportunity are all the people who could benefit from the technology, but they have to change their behavior in order to benefit from it. And so that's when you say category leading, it's you have to be in an environment and in a mindset to change people's behavior. And I'll give you an example. Like 2 months ago, we brought my son to an emergency room. He's fine, but we were worried at the moment. And his doctor said, "Hey, you really should get him checked." So we went to a children's hospital. We waited for 2 hours in the waiting room. We got into the room with the doctor. The doctor then said, I think it might be this, this, and that, but we have to get confirmation on ultrasound. Excuse me. We waited 3 hours to get an ultrasound. They had to wait for the wheelchair and wait for ultrasonographer, wait for the radiologist to do the read, wait for the thing to come back. And I said to the ER doctor, "Hey, I'm CEO of Butterfly." He goes, "No way, you're CEO of Butterfly."
Here, I have one for me.
He goes, "You have to get me a Butterfly." And I said, "Well, why aren't you using Butterfly?" He goes, "I just don't know how to use it. I don't know how to do ultrasound. I don't know how to do the scanning. You have to help me." And so we talked about it for a while. But had he known how to use it, he would have been able to pull it out and within 5 minutes do the confirmation read, and we'd be gone. And there was a line of people inside the emergency room waiting for the room that we were occupying for 3 hours. So the concept of point of care is to empower each of these nurses. There's 1 million doctors in the US, 9 million worldwide, 4 million nurses in the US, 27 million worldwide. And there's also 50 million chronic care patients around the world that can benefit from this. And so the market, the opportunity is massive, but we have to go through change management. So what are some of the change management? It has to do with comfort level of image acquisition, comfort level in how they would acquire the image and be able to feel like they can make the diagnosis. And that's all learning curve. And today, 60% of medical schools are educating on Butterfly. Think about that.
That's awesome.
There's an inevitability factor here, right? So when you talk about will things happen, it's done. The die is cast, the decision is made. These kids who come out of school over the next generation are all coming out with familiarity with ultrasound. 40% of residency programs are being trained on Butterfly. It's inevitable. It's done. So when
Joe,
you
I keep
look,
giggling because I keep thinking of your past with virtual care, telehealth, with InTouch, and then with Teladoc, and trying to sell that technology into health systems and into doctors' offices and trying to change their behavior there. And I got to ask you, what did you learn from that experience? I mean, like you've almost reset yourself back on the hype cycle at like bleeding edge technology, early adoption. So, like, what are you taking from that experience, having pushed through virtual care into the incumbent established care pathways, and that was a slog. And I mean, I spoke with you, during COVID, and you were like our man on the street in hospitals desperately trying to stand up virtual care, who had not listened to you for years before then, and that needed it. And so now here you are, you're with a technology that's novel again, that requires a behavior change, that requires all different care processes to be built around it. So, like, what are some of the things from your past that are coming back up for you that you're applying to this in terms of helping change this behavior moving forward so that the tech can be adopted?
you're very observant. That's what I love about you. Is that you understand everything before you come into a dynamic like this, an
Thank you.
interview like this. It's the exact same. And that's what attracted me to Butterfly is there's a very novel hardware technology, but there's this concept of a network and concept of democratization of care, and also, even for that matter, the concept of remote care. So like when we there's only 80,000 ultrasonographers in the US, but we just talked about millions of doctors and nurses, and the ability to help a rural hospital do a scan can all be done through telemedicine and teleguidance. Everything, we have 100,000 devices around the world that stream data into a cloud, which gives us a very large AI data set. And so the ability, well, first of all, you have to have a North Star on what are those behaviors that have to change. Second of all, you have to then invest in those processes that are going to accelerate change. And for us, it's education. And we've invested now in ScanLab, which is a new AI tool that helps didactic training. We have Butterfly Academy, which is like University of Phoenix, where you can do an online course, take tests, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We have certification training. So it is so similar. That's what attracted me so much to Butterfly, because it is this digital health technology on a rapid innovation pace that's changing care, that's making it easier to create greater access. I mean, one of the things about Butterfly is, and it's very similar to InTouch, is, there's 1,000 of these probes in Ukraine.
Wow,
Medics who are on the battlefield,
that's
who
incredible.
are, who are helping triage. One of the things about Butterfly is we have one probe that works for all use cases. Our competitors have to have multiple probes with multiple frequencies because they're pre-programmed for each of those use cases. The ability to bring healthcare where it's needed. We've trained 500 midwives how to do gestational positioning. So prior to birth, they would set the birth up for success to make sure that the child is in the right position. And those midwives are using this every single day. It's about bringing care to where patients are. So virtual care is bringing expertise to where patients are. Ultrasound and the Butterfly device is empowering people to help people where it happens. Not to say, oh, we have an issue, let's create an appointment. Let's get you in hospital next Tuesday. Let's go into a high cost environment, because a lot of these other places around the world don't have access to those environments.
Right, let's talk about the US for just a second here. And this is going to be probably like a reoccurring nightmare from your telehealth days, but payment model. I mean, that's the thing, right? And that was one of the big issues, that had often kind of held the adoption of telehealth down, was that it wasn't reimbursed at parity. And then, the pandemic happened, suddenly those restrictions and other restrictions about where originating site, all of that stuff are lifted. And so I'm curious, the parallel here with point of care ultrasound, like, I mean, I don't know this, but is that reimbursed the same way that an ultrasound in a traditional room with the traditional ultrasound tech is reimbursed, or is it reimbursed differently? Because you know how that ends up impacting, uptake by, the hospital system or the clinician group who's looking to generate revenue from providing that source. So tell us about the reimbursement model around this.
So fortunately, we do have reimbursement, and
Okay, great.
and the way it works is there's a higher level of reimbursement to do a cart-based in-facility ultrasound. But it's almost very similar to surgery done in a hospital versus in a surgery center. So there's different reimbursement because you have a different cost base of that environment. So in hospital, you have to pay for a very expensive cart. You have to pay for your facility fee, and then you get the physician reimbursement. Physicians can do a scan and get anywhere between $70 to $120 for a 5-10 minute scan. So when you look at the time, it's actually very profitable. The biggest challenge we have with reimbursement today is not the existence of reimbursement, is the comfort level of a doctor to actually feel that they can claim for reimbursement. So today in hospitals and in point of care, a hospital only sees about 35% of the scans they take are actually going into the EMR, into DICOM, and then being reimbursed for. So our challenge is building up their education, building up their confidence. And then we've also created a middleware that allows us to link probes, data, images into Epic and into DICOM. And every single preset we have in our probe, we have 20 presets. So if you're going to do an abdominal scan, you do an abdominal preset, and then you can document into Epic from your device. And then at the bottom, it has all the codes that you could potentially reimburse from. So we have everything there. The biggest missing link in point of care ultrasound is simply the clinician having the confidence.
Wow.
Did I get it? And am I confident enough in my decision that I'm now going to claim reimbursement? Because there's liability and whatnot tied to,
of course, yeah,
the diagnosis. Like if I just pull this and just scan you, it's just more information for me. But the moment I make a decision and I document that diagnosis and then I ask for payment, then that's a higher bar. And so for us, if you look at the market adoption curve, we're still at the early adopters, and we're just now crossing that chasm. We're just now breaking into the early majority. The acceptance, hospitals and clinicians understand that imaging at the point of care is better for the patient. And I think radiology understands today this isn't a threat, because the ultrasonographers in the hospital are at capacity. They can't do any more, and there's a wait list. So the ability of having an intensivist round with ultrasound so they can make a decision right then and there, or an emergency doctor having ultrasound to be able to make a decision so they don't have to wait 3 hours for their scan, is just all incremental revenue for the hospital and the health system.
I think that's so fascinating. Say a little bit more about some of the ways that you guys have built into the technology support for those clinicians as they're scanning, because this is one of the really interesting components of this to me, is just how much like hand holding there is. So to kind of remove that icky, uncomfortable factor of, am I scanning this right? I mean, you mentioned the preset. So say a little bit more about that technology and how you guys are leaning into tech in that way in order to help kind of remove any hesitation there might be on, did I get a good enough scan to make a diagnosis and then bill for it?
Right. Well, every hospital has different credentialing protocols. And so it's up to the hospital to decide who is credentialed and who would then have the ability to perform whatever under being in their facility. What we do is we offer a bunch of different levels of education to help them get to that level of comfort. And it's up to the clinician in the hospital to determine if they've hit that comfort level and if they're ready to get there. We do everything in the UI, where we have actually in the device training videos. If you're in that preset and you want to know how to position something right then and there, you can get that video to help you. We have an AI tool for practicing where it'll tell you where to put the probe. It'll show you what your image should look like. And then when you have a live image, there are AI labels on the anatomy telling you what you're looking at. There's the mitral valve. There's the septal. There's the aorta. Here is, you know, the atrium. So the ability to get more and more comfortable. We have invested in every possible tool, and we've invested heavily in going to the residency programs and the medical schools to get early and earlier on. So whether it's telemedicine, whether it's software to review scans of people who've done scans, rate those scans, and then graduate them to a different level. All the tools exist. What needs to happen now, I have a general practitioner. We all do. He's my age, and he drives me up the wall. He tells me he's too busy. He's telling me I can't learn something new. I'm the CEO of Butterfly. You have to do this. I can't come to your office if you're not going to do point of care ultrasound. But literally, we're dealing with some people who are at the end of their career. They don't want to learn something new. They're too busy. It's not their workflow. And that is just the type of change. You know, with what's exciting about the business that we're in is we're helping people.
Yeah.
And doctors who embrace this are able to help people, and they don't have to sacrifice it economically. It's very low cost to buy a device, and then the reimbursement exists and the workflows make sense, but we just have to get people more comfortable.
All right, I want to ask about two things that I'm really excited about. And so the first one for you guys is the launch of the Butterfly Garden. So this is like you guys are jumping into the, AI bandwagon, and you're opening up your platform to let developers develop artificial intelligence technology on top of the platform that you guys already have. Tell us a little bit about that. Like, where did this idea come from, and how do you hope that it will be used to help further the ease of use of the Butterfly devices in practice?
Well, you've almost answered your question.
Oh, great. I love when I do that, Joe.
Yeah, you're so switched on. It's insane. The essence of adoption is making it easier, and AI tools can make it easier to capture the image, and then B, interpret the image. And these tools are trained on massive data sets, and they're really, really impactful. I mean, Bill Gates has given money to GE, to Philips, to ourselves, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, respectfully, because they believe that AI is the bridge. Like, as I said, we have to get to that level of comfort. We have to get to that level of adoption. And AI is a massive accelerator because it dramatically reduces the complexity. And so we said to ourselves, okay, there's about 150 different companies developing AI applications for imaging and ultrasound. Now, we can either look at our development and say, we're going to hit all of these different things, and we're going to develop all this AI, and we're going to compete with those 150 companies. Or we're going to focus our energy on all the things that we do that are unique, all the things that we do that no one else can do, but then open our platform to those 150 plus companies and let those products come into our ecosystem. Why? Because our customers are going to benefit. Every time a new app comes in for DVT or for cardiac echo or for vascular access, it just makes our platform more valuable. And so I can either invest my R&D to try to compete with and replicate things that other people are already doing, or I can invest my R&D in things that only I can do and open my platform for everyone else to come in. So the way our model works is we get paid for access, and then we split revenue with our partners. So for us, it's a stacking revenue stream. It embarrassingly is very similar to the app store, where you have these apps come into the platform, Apple makes money on them. It's very simple. And so for us, What we want to do is accelerate adoption of all of the AI software, and we want our customers to not have to choose what platform they have to be on to get what piece of software. So we just made the decision. We are publishing a software development kit that makes it very easy for someone. They put an app in the App Store themselves that are their Butterfly application. You plug a Butterfly into the iPhone, you open their app, and it works.
Awesome. I love the simplicity of that. Now, the second thing that I wanted to ask about that got me excited is like the other investment in R&D that you guys have made recently, which was in the development of that semiconductor technology that is behind this third generation version of the device. And this was cool to me. And I'm sure, and I'm asking this really for the shareholders who are out there who are like, let's talk about this new revenue stream capability, right? So let's talk about this new potential revenue stream here. So you guys are looking at like licensing out that semiconductor technology. Talk to us about this idea. This was good.
Well, again, you frame it correctly, because the way I looked at this was, our company has invested $500 million to develop this semiconductor technology. And we're targeting what is today a pretty small market with a large opportunity. And we, just being a commercial enterprise, we need to be able to grow our revenue. We need to be able to shore up our balance sheet. So if we have a novel technology that can work in non-competitive environments, why wouldn't we monetize that? So we made it available. And amazingly, we've developed 2 partners so far, and we actually have a very exciting pipeline where, that what our chip does is not only deliver ultrasound, but it's like we have 9,000 little sensors on the chip. It's almost like thinking about 9,000 pixels on a screen that we're looking at. And the computer can control the color of each one of those pixels, right? That's how you see in the ICU. Well, we can control the energy out of every single one of those individual MEMS sensors. So we can control the beam and how it's formed. The normal ultrasound beam is like a flashlight. The beam comes straight out. What we can do is we can keep the probe still, and then we can move the beam without moving the probe. Ooh. And so it's almost like the Star Trek tricorder. I don't know, you're not old enough. You're a young lady.
No, but I've been to enough conferences with tech people in healthcare to have heard about the tricorder and seen pictures and watched the video. Yeah.
Right. So you can literally, like, you see the thing go through the body. It's not actually too dissimilar to our capabilities. So wow. we created a partnership with Forest Neurotech out of Caltech, who's creating a brain-computer interface. And what they're trying to do is core the bone out of the apex of the skull, place an implant into that apex with our chip. Then our chip will scan through the entire brain, and it'll look at the brain and look at the vascularity inside the brain and see what parts of the brain are deprived of enough blood flow, and then deliver energy to those parts to accelerate blood flow. So if we weren't willing to share this technology, something like that, I mean, they would have to go and walk the path of creating that type of investment dollar to create access. So what we said was, why won't we monetize that? So we created a licensing deal. We received money, and everything they sell going forward have our chip in it, and we're partners. So
that's incredible.
And so there's so many other applications. There's another application called Mandera that has a mini robot that attaches into an ultrasound device. And you can just touch on the screen, boom, I want to go there. And the robot arm all of a sudden points at it. And if I move the probe, the robot arm is still fixing on exactly that point, so I can put a needle exactly where I want on the image. It's fascinating. So why wouldn't we allow our technology to come into that company? So I think we're going to see, just like Intel Inside, powered by Butterfly is going to be a part of healthcare, and other companies are going to leverage our technology. And the way you started the question, which was perfect, our shareholders will benefit.
Oh my God, totally. They're like probably like, yeah, I can see, you know, the stock rising right now as they're listening to this.
Well, yeah, from your lips to God's ears.
Well, hopefully, right? All right, Joe, let's wrap this up. I mean, like I said at the beginning, you know, you're a friend of the show. We've talked a couple times, and you know, the thing that it's always nice to see somebody that I've interviewed before, and especially in a different context. And so to wrap it up, I've got to ask, you know, you had your successful exit. You exited InTouch, $600 million to Teladoc at the beginning of 2020. You survived the pandemic. You live out the contract there. You take a year off and now you're back. Like, I mean, I had to say, I was excited to see you as the CEO of Butterfly, because like I said, I do see so many parallels between your lived experience in telehealth and now, you know, taking this new technology into hospitals. But to hear from you, you know, what brought you back into health tech? I mean, this is not an easy road.
Well, you know, I guess, have you ever heard the story of the frog and the scorpion?
No.
You know, the frog's about to cross the river and the scorpion says, give me a ride. Frog says, why would I do that? You're gonna sting me. Scorpion says, why would I do that? I would die with you. So he says, okay, hops on, they go across, halfway across the river, the frog feels that he feels the stinging in his back. And he goes, Scorpion, why would you do that? We're both gonna die. He goes, well, look, I'm a scorpion. You know, you are what you are.
You are what
I'm
you
a
are.
I'm a med tech guy. I tried to stay home. I tried to spend time on the ranch, but no, I love it. And when Butterfly came calling, just like I said before, I saw so many parallels in digital and in hardware, cloud computing, AI. This company has a really exciting legs and runway ahead of it. And I'm really thrilled to be back.
Awesome. Well, we wish you nothing but the best of luck as you try to get your mojo back this year. You're going to get your mojo back this year. Launch the new device and all these other exciting things. Like this semiconductor stuff is really compelling. So
Pretty
thanks so
cool.
much for dipping into that. Joe, it was a pleasure to speak with you. Thank you so much for taking the time. All right, for those of you who want to check out more interviews with the who's who of health tech as they're changing the way that we do healthcare, head on over to my YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/WTF Health. I'm Jessica DeMassa. That's Joe DeVivo, the president, CEO, and chairman of Butterfly Network. Thanks again, Joe. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.